shock, gasp, wow, it's amazing. Fancy intro music, yeah, woo! Hey, welcome back to the channel where today we're talking about patch 31 in Star Trek Fleet Command, and I think that this is a great second part of the arc. Now remember, the next generation arc in Star Trek Fleet Command will go 4 months. We've already had month 1. We had arc 1 last month. Now we're in arc 2. And it really felt like last month was kind of built around the lower end of the game in terms of lower levels. You had a lot of stuff like the away missions definitely built for that, and there was definitely some things that we wanted to tweak, get better, but like the officers they gave, 5 officers, was basically all for lower levels. And now the month 2, we're kind of getting some fleshed out on some big stuff that we've been talking about and hinting on. DJ got to drop more hints than me. I only got to drop 1, but I'm excited about what I got to drop, and we're going to talk about that in this video. We're going to talk about all the different aspects of the new update and what those mean and how it's progressing in the game, or how you are progressing in the game now. And then of course we'll talk about later today and then tomorrow about the events to be looking out for. So,
but shut up, Wesley.
If you're not already following all the content creators like myself, Ultimate DJ on the podcast, No One Shall, Fortis, LCARS with Fartage in the group on Discord, plenty of places to get all the information that you need. First thing we'll talk about right quick is, have you read this yet? Obviously you haven't. You're watching the video because I give it to you the best way, the best way, the best way. And that's my way. And that is right here. I want to read you the top sentence. Today, we're delighted to bring you the second arc. Who cares about any of that? But look at this first sentence. Should we investigate Cardassian space and Worf's escape pod, or try to find Captain Picard's whereabouts? Now, this is really interesting because we know Captain Picard is in this arc.
But shut up, Wesley.
He's actually an officer we'll talk about here in a minute. Worf is not released yet, and it says Cardassian space. Could that be hinting at a Cardassian faction? Now, we've gotten little tidbits of this before. If you remember the very beginning of the game now, if you've watched my new account on server 63 restart, that it starts now with the TNG officers running into Cardassians. And if you remember in the Next Generation, that was an enemy that they saw. If you also go to your avatars section, you can see that we have a lovely new shade of avatars, including a Cardassia insignia, as well as the Picard facepalm, which is one of the new things in this arc, which I actually love, even though it's a cosmetic feature. I just thought that sentence was very, very interesting and worth bringing up. But let's start with the new officers. I feel like that's going to be a big key. Now, of course, we'll have our good friends over at LCARS. Shout out to Fartasia for getting this to us, because I got this at like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning. So big shout out to him for being able to get that to me so I could make this video and have it set to go by the time y'all are waking up, drinking your coffee and going, what's great in Star Trek Fleet Command? We're going to start with Jean-Luc Picard, because there is also Wesley Crusher, and we'll talk about him in a little bit.
But shut up, Wesley.
Starting off with Jean-Luc Picard, 2 abilities: Make It So, Captain's ability, and Engage, Officer's ability. Now, very interesting abilities. You'll see the Make It So increases the officer effectiveness of all officer abilities that trigger in combat by 2 times 10%. Now, why is it worded like that? Well, as DJ put it, this is essentially having another type of Pike. So if we actually go to Pike, which will be right to where is it at? I'm always sorting by group. You can see Pike's captain's ability now shows this. Now it's showing 60% because I've got him on a ship and he is synergized, but he's now displaying how he's actually working. Before he wasn't. This is one of the notes that you'll read in the release notes today, is they updated a couple of the tooltips. Now you're getting Picard and Pike working the same way. Now the only difference is Jean-Luc Picard's officer ability is a hostile and Armada styled officer, whereas Pike is XP. So now Jean-Luc is replacing a Pike type card, or giving you another Pike type card, but you're not having to, sacrifice an officer ability. Now, this officer ability is not necessarily the strongest, as we can see on the LCARS, but one thing I'm really interested in and curious about is if you look, that any officer in the TNG crew gives a 50% bonus to Picard's synergy with Make It So, meaning that he gets that 2 times 10 or 2 times 60 in this case for that 120% bonus that makes that Pike Moreau Chin so OP. Well, Now you've got Picard, Beverly, Talon, and Pike, Moreau, Chin, both. And if you remember how we've designed the lower levels, you've got LaForge, Crusher, the TNG crews, Talon, Cadet Uhura, Cadet McCoy, Chin. So you got 2 starter versions of the hostile crew. Now you've got 2 of the later versions of the hostile crew. Plus, now you're getting a little bit of Armada love. We'll, of course, talk about Picard when we get him unlocked and then go through how we actually play him in the game and on the field. Moving on to Wesley Crusher with the most interesting officer ability I've ever seen. It is called
But shut up, Wesley.
Traveler's Scion. Shout out to the Scion car. Great little thing. Wesley Crusher increases his own stats by 20%. Now, he does not have the best stats in the world. This is a very interesting type of ability that does, of course, scale by the level. You can see that here on the screen. And I don't honestly know what to think about Wesley Crusher. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. DJ comedically said that it's the worst officer ability of all time and how appropriate that it goes to Wesley Crusher. I don't know if it's that bad, but it is a very curious ability and really curious to see how it plays out in the game. Generally, anything that affects just a singular officer like this, probably not going to work out that good, but he can still give 50% synergy. And then he has When the Bow Breaks, increases weapon damage against hostiles and armadas by 100% of crew attack. So we have a bonus there. Now, this is going to build very similar to how Lorca builds with the 100 and the 50% bonuses and everything, which is not terribly important, but still, I mean, works. I mean, you get a 50% bonus and then 50% bonus or 25 with another engineer. So it's good. It's not a great, but it's good. Anyway, we'll get new missions, of course, in this. That's something we'll focus on an actual mission tree. Then there is projectiles, new projectiles for ships that actually provide a bonus. So you have, there's 3 of them. Now, epic and rare. So the first things we're thinking with these refits is, well, how are we even going to get these things? Well, we'll have to cover all that when it actually comes up. But as you can see through the projectiles now, you've got the positron phaser, the refractive beam, and the plasma beams. That's one right there. I've already got a fusion beam, but the plasma beam. Now, 2 of these actually have an in-game bonus. So the epic one, which is the refractive beam, actually does a mitigation bonus. It's an increase to accuracy, shield piercing, and armor piercing by 20%. Not big, but any little bit can help change the tide of battle, so that's good. And then the positron phaser is a 10% damage increase. You'll need your standard rare projectile shards as well as the positron phaser shards. So looking forward to that leaderboard event. Yay. Now, random little cosmetic addition, and by the way, some other cool things that we'll talk about here in just a second, but I got to talk about this uno momento, por favor. Their new Federation icons, well, that's the Alliance, my bad. They're not Federation icons, but new icons for alliances. You can go check those out if you're a leader. I guess I can throw those on, but they're not necessarily that important. Battle Pass will be coming out later today. We can talk about that. Now, avatars, they're there. Frames, there's going to be 4 frames here. Once again, you can read that into the little news channel. It's not necessarily something we need to go over, but this is something we need to go over. This is amazing. This is, you know what? All the people complaining, hold on. We got to get our good friend in here. We got to put on the shill cap. It's got to happen. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast where today we're talking about the stupidest news of all great news, and that is this. Fog of War has been lifted. We can actually see now great riddles told by me, Ultimate DJ, meow. And you too can celebrate in this because this is one of the greatest things this game has done in terms of listening to the community. Why wasn't it like that in the first place? Who knows? But it's here now. If your alliance owns a territory, you are no longer forced to travel to it to see inside. The Fog of War has been lifted. As it was asked by you, the players, you're getting what you wanted. Those complaints were heard, and here it is. We can view the system. What's in here, I don't know, but I can look at it without going through. Oh my God, it's so amazing. Back to you, Rev.
But shut up, Wesley.
Thanks, DJ. Appreciate the shill moment there because that was true and factual. I love it, you love it, and everybody should love it. Little cosmetic changes like this are great, but quality of life changes like this are amazing. And this is a great example of them actually listening because it feels like sometimes they don't. This is a great example of them listening to a common complaint we had. So they went and built this. This is not something that was available in the game. It wasn't something you could do. So this was then gone and created, wrote it up just based on feedback. I thought that was great. And then a couple of other things really important here. So Armadas as a mechanic has changed completely. And when I say completely, I mean it in a good way. So we're going to throw up new rewards. So there are now finally Armadas 40 and above. I know a lot of you are thinking, well, this is just content for whales. It's not just content for whales. Because one, you talk about the USS Franklin A and the ISS Jellyfish are both ships you can get before the 40s that get into the deep space regions. And you can start exploring some of those shallow dark space areas. And you've got uncommon armadas coming 41, 43, 46, 49. Rare armadas as well starting at level 41. You're going to potentially have the opportunity or even go into the 40s now and consider leveling up because the economy changes now because of this as well to start working towards that. And you can get for the first time ever officer pulls in the rare chest where you've got Lorca and 6 of 10 there. 2 officers we've been wanting to have a sourcing ability, an easier way to get them, now available through Armada chest. Also, I think this is really great that if you look on the regular armadas, the one that we're always talking about, their spawn times are awful, they're terrible, we can never find them. Well, good news for you. And I'm going to just a random system that let's use Azadi. I've used that several times. The spawn timers for these have been decreased, with rares being decreased by 50% and then the epics being decreased by 100% in terms of they've been cut in half. So you get a very, very nice change. And I for one, am extremely excited about that on the Armada because now not only are you giving the whale something to do and go out and by the way, 100% faster, not 100% decrease because that would obviously be instantaneous, but 100% faster on epic respawns, 50% faster on the rare respawns, and they focus the respawn on the lower level system. So now let lower level players get more armadas and get more of that action in. I think that is a really nice thing. So overall, while there's no game-changing mechanic here, there's 2 officers, bunch of events. You've seen me been storing up certain event things like tickets and everything. I've been saving those. This might be the arc that I spend them with some of the stuff coming up. So when the events drop, we'll cover those. And yeah, this is Section 31, or Section 31, Patch 31. And this is what happens when I try to make videos at 3 in the morning because, yeah, this is what happens. I love y'all. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys. Can't wait to go through this with you. And hopefully we don't have as many kerfluffles as we did before so we can enjoy it. But if not, we'll be here to burn it all down. Good morning to you. We love you. We'll catch you on the next one. Toodaloos.
But shut up, Wesley.
An even better outro than the intro. Yeah.